I remember a number of things, but mostly as they were wrapped around going to school. I attended Elizabeth Haddon School, which we then called Lizzie Haddon. I know today most people refer to it as Haddon, but we went to Lizzie Haddon. I attended Lizzie Haddon first kindergarten through 6th grade, then went to the middle school. The 6th grade was not at the middle school at the time. We rode our bikes everywhere. We walked through town. At that time, we kind of had free range of the community. Some things have changed, but that same sense of community has remained. I remember when the speed line went in. I remember when the railroad stations were removed. That did seem to present a change, but at the time, I remember thinking this is a terrible thing, although I was only 11, but it has turned out to be a good thing for the community. I have been working here at the Indian King Tavern since the summer of 2008 on a part-time basis. Although I continue to work on a part-time basis, I'm here more hours than I was in 2008, 2009. I do work for the state of New Jersey. Well, it was at the urging of the Haddonfield chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR. They believed that this building was of great importance, as it is, of course, because the New Jersey legislature met here. And it was through the urging of the DAR that the state of New Jersey did purchase the property in 1903. Well, I think it gives us insight as to what life was like in Haddonfield during that time period. It helps us to recognize the importance of this village, that it was on the outskirts of Philadelphia, on main highways, and I think that gives us a sense of what went on here during that time. Well, that's a really good question, because it depends upon which part of the building you're referring to. If we go back to the beginning, we can recognize a certain portion of the building dating back to 1741, when it served as a shop and residence for Timothy Matlack, who was Haddonfield's brewer. We have cellars here that date back to 1732 that were a part of Timothy Matlack's brew house. The property went on to become what I refer to as a rental property, and it wasn't until 1777 that it actually became a tavern. There are really only two pieces here in the tavern that we believe date back to the 18th century, early 19th century. Most everything else in the building is either reproduction, or the pieces are what we would refer to as period pieces of the 18th century, but not of the Indian King. Well, you know, we don't have record except that we have the minutes from the various meetings that took place. And so when I'm wandering around the building, whether I'm setting up for a group that's about to visit or completing some small maintenance project, I like to think about the people that passed through. When the General Assembly was here, there could have been as many as 39 men. So I'm sure there was discussion that went on around a dining table. Perhaps there were arguments that took place. Perhaps there were 2 or 3 that would meet in a corner to discuss a vote or whatever was to come. So I think the building was probably pretty active during that time period in an interesting way. That's, yes, and when you look at the minutes, it is in September of 1777 in which it's determined that colony, the word colony, will no longer be used in all written paperwork. It is only going to be referred to as a state. So this is the final break from the king. I think it's a gem. I think it is a place that people should come and visit and get a sense of what it might have been like in that time period. One of the things that I've learned in the short time that I've been here is that its story continues to change as we find more information about that time and the actual place. The story does change, and so it's worth coming often to learn new things. Well, we would walk our way through the 4 rooms here on the first floor and talk a little bit about what it would have been like to visit the tavern as a tradesperson or a gentleman. And then when we go to the second floor, we talk more specifically about the events that took place here in 1777. So the first floor and the second floor are now open to the public. I do. One of the things that I have come to learn about this town is that if there are a group of people who are interested in a particular project, they will come together and they will be sure that that project is completed from top to bottom, and that seems to be a sense of community that's nurtured in Haddonfield. That if you think there should be a statue of the Hadrosaurus, then groups of people come together. They raise the money, they find the person, and we have a statue of the Hadrosaurus. So I think that really is that sense of community. I think that sense of community should be maintained in very similar ways that we see it today. I'm sure that things will change. Perhaps our mode of transportation will be different. Perhaps the downtown area will be different, but that sense of small town isn't such a bad thing.